What's up, everybody? My name's Big Cam and welcome back to a Comically Boston breakdown episode where today we are breaking down Daredevil Born Again episode 3 titled The Hollow of His Hand. And just one episode today, no 2-episode premiere like last week, but episode 1 and 2's breakdowns are on the channel already, so go check those out. I've also been doing a rewatch of the original Netflix Daredevil series in season 1 and season 2 full summary breakdown recaps are on the channel, and they're chunky videos, but we're summarizing a whole 13 episode season, so of course they're chunky, but hey, save you some time and maybe you can get the recap on that if you haven't seen those. So go check those out, and I really appreciate you guys if you have. Subscribe, do all the things if you want to support the channel, but let's jump right on into this one. We're coming off of last week where Matt is representing Hector Ayala, the White Tiger. We also learned that Fisk and Vanessa are Heather, Glenn, Matt's new girlfriend's new clients, and they're doing some couple counseling. And then we ended on Matt saving his witness that Hector saved on the train platform or subway, and beating up a couple of dirty cops before screaming in anger at the very end. And we ended on him screaming, and we cut to black. But we opened this episode on Matt going to visit Hector in jail before his trial. And Hector tells Matt about the Koki frog from his home island, and that every day at sunset that they would sing. And it's very sad, but he says the Koki, it mates for life, right? So every sunset, thousands of these frogs start calling out to their one and only love. So I believe Mr. Hector Ayala here believes himself to be a Koki frog, and his one love is his wife, or his one love is fighting crime, you know, one of the two. But either way, so very sad, because he's longing to hear the sound of these Koki frogs, and he says that tourists find them annoying, but the people on the homeland think it's beautiful and that it's the song of the island. And Matt says he promises he'll see it again, and I thought this was a bad move. I was like, Matt, don't make promises you don't know you can keep, come on. But they cut to the intro right after this, and then they show us a truck being robbed and 2 guys getting killed, and you're kind of like, at first I was like, what the hell just happened here? Why'd they show that? And then we cut over to more of the BB report, showing people from the city, and I think she talks to a guy eating pizza and another old man that talks about, hey, if someone invades my privacy, I won't hesitate to pull out my strap, you know what I'm saying? You know, and you're like, whoa, hey, gangsta old man in New York, don't fuck with him. Some people said they didn't love the BB reports. I think they're pivotal. I mean, if there was too many of them, maybe like last couple episodes, there was like 4 of them. The 2 that we got this episode of like just random cuts away to the BB report, and she's talking to the people in New York about what's going on in the episode. It just reminds you that these characters aren't the only people in New York, and that this city is also being affected, and the people are also being affected by what's going on. And it's all in the news cycle, just like the real world, you know? Like if something happens in the real world, it doesn't just affect those people, everyone around it, and word of mouth starts spreading it, and everyone talks about it, you know what I mean? And that's how things grow. But, you know, all that to say, I really like the BB report. But we then cut over to Fisk eating his breakfast at the opposite end of the table from Vanessa, which I thought was interesting, because back in the Netflix series, when she first comes over to his house, she sits right next to him. He's at the end of the table because he's the kingpin, of course, but she's right next to him eating breakfast. Now she's at the other end of the table because we have a kingpin and a queenpin, both heads of the table, which, you know, is funny because it's creating a rift between them. But also, she slept with somebody else. Wilson knows that she's kind of not telling him the whole truth, you know, shit's going on. But then as, you know, they're talking, Vanessa says she could wash $200 million through an auction that is about to happen. He's like, listen, we're not trying to get involved with that. And he goes, I know it's hard to sit and wait, but, you know, and you want to do something. But obviously they're loaded if they can clean 200 million. So they have 200 million that they can just go, okay, let's pay these bad guys. But as soon as they can clean it, now that money can go into their bank account, that type of thing. And they're 200 million richer. So they clearly have all of the money that they could want. And they are back to power under Vanessa's queen pinning. But Wilson says he's reaching for higher goals than 200 million. And she's like, what kind of higher goals? But we don't hear what. When his assistant cuts in and interrupts them, we find out that those two guys that were killed in that truck jacking were the tracksuits and Irish, and these are both men working for Fisk and fighting amongst themselves. And Fisk says that they are rats at the bottom of the barrel, let them kill each other. And Vanessa says, yeah, whoever's left at the end will come for you. And, you know, she's concerned about him. And he says, that world, petty blood feuds, none of that is our concern. So clearly to me, Vanessa still wants to be Queenpin, and she still wants to be, you know, running her men, because under her men there was no squabbling and fighting, and she was quite good at being a Queenpin. So I don't know, I think that might be teasing her route. She's not just going to go back to dealing art and being an art gallery lady, although I loved that. And I also, you know, even though they're bad people, I like when Wilson and her are getting along, not fighting. I don't like to see them with mom and dad fighting, you know what I mean? I don't like it. I want to see them together. We then cut over to the courthouse, and Officer Powell, the officer that Matt beat up last episode, is pressing Matt in the bathroom. Oh, blind lawyer, huh? That knows how to fight? And Matt's like, you know, fuck you, buddy. You know, kind of lawyers him in the bathroom a little bit, which is hilarious. And then says, I'll see you in court, officer. We then cut over to Cherry, Officer Cherry, Matt's private eye, and former retired officer, and we see Cherry that goes to a safe house and gives drugs to Nikki Torres, their witness that was getting beat up by the Officer Powell and his dead partner. And it seems like he's going through some withdrawals and sweating, so Cherry's bringing him some drugs so they can get him onto the stand. And, you know, I'm already like, oh god, this Nikki kid's a friggin' junk box, who cares? We then cut back to court where Officer Powell is lying on the stand, and Matt has this funny quip immediately as soon as he's about to start.
Officer Powell, good morning. I'm told you have a black eye. I hope everything is okay.
Yeah, don't worry about it.
You know, there's this thing they say in boxing, the best cure for a black eye is fast hands.
Objection. Sustained. Come on, Mr. Murdock.
That is so funny. He's like, hey, I'm told you have a black eye. You know, really playing into this blind lawyer thing. Heard you have a black eye. He goes, yeah, don't worry about it, right? Because Matt's the one that gave him that black eye. That shit made me laugh so hard. But this Officer Powell is a real fucking pussy. And honestly, he's sitting here on the stand with that black eye, and I was like, oh, I hate him so much. But while Matt is questioning Officer Powell on the stand, we find out that the Nikki Torres, that is their witness, is actually a criminal informant and was working directly with Officer Powell and his dead partner. And he lies about that too and says, I've never heard of him. We then hear that Matt hears another officer in the courtroom whisper with a Punisher neck tattoo, which I was immediately like, okay, why would an officer in New York have a neck tattoo? One. Two, he's got a Punisher neck tattoo? Crazy. But we hear the officer whisper, Torres can't testify. So they're going to try and kill Nikki, and Officer Powell goes for Nikki and thinks that he's with Cherry, but Cherry faked them out with the van, and faked me out too. I was like, oh no. I thought they were going to open the back of the van and kill friggin' Torres right on the spot. But they faked him out, and they stuck Nikki and the other guy that was helping Cherry in a cab to get to the courtroom in just the nick of time. And he runs in, and Matt's like, impeccable timing, buddy. But Matt gets to question him, but Torres lies. Even after them getting him drugs and helping him and keeping him alive, he lies on the stand because he's more afraid of what the police would do to him. But I also have a clip of what he says on the stand.
Were you passing along the information to Officers Shanahan and Powell? Remembering you're under oath.
No. I was home all night.
Forgive me, I'm confused here. Previously, you stated pretty clearly that you were actually at the 168th Street subway station being beaten when
Hector Ayala intervened to save your life.
Objection.
With great risk, put himself in harm's way, didn't he?
Isn't that true? Counsel, stand down.
Damn, so with all the officers in the courthouse, and Matt can hear his heartbeat start getting faster, and he lies on the stand, and Matt's like, son of a bitch, they got to my lead witness, my star witness, somehow, even though he's with Cherry, they still got to him and Torres lies. So they lose his star witness, so Matt is floundering a bit here. We then cut to Fisk's new Wesley. I'm not sure his name, I haven't picked it up yet. I think it's Buck or something like that. But his new Wesley, and he's pretty much Wesley, but not as good. And he is trying to get his troops to fall in line, but not so successful because the guys are still squabbling amongst themselves. We find out, though, that one of the guys that killed the other guys is now supposed to owe 1.8 million in restitution, and Lucas says, I don't take orders from the mayor's errand boy, and Buck says, I don't work for the mayor, I work for the man, and then walks away. And you're kind of like, so he doesn't work for the mayor, he works for the man, meaning what? He doesn't work for Wilson Fisk, he works for Kingpin? I don't know, but I think that's how we're supposed to take that. We then cut over to Matt, Kristen, and Cherry back at their office talking about their options for Hector, and it seems that they have very slim to no options, and their only option is for Hector to take the stand, and for Matt to question him and be open to questioning about who he is. And they drink heavily about this. They're like, oh boy, you know, you need at least one shot in every lawyer show of the lawyers, you know, drinking about the case. We then find out that the new Wesley was sent by Vanessa and not Fisk, and Fisk knew this all along, so he must have told Fisk that Vanessa asked him to go. But Fisk is like, he goes, don't become somebody that I can't trust. And Fisk tells her sometimes, you know, she's like, I can't just sit here and do nothing. I was trying to keep the peace, and she wants, you know, everything to be working smoothly like it was under her. But this is Fisk's plan, apparently. Because Fisk tells her sometimes peace must be broken and chaos must reign. Which is also, I believe, a run in the comics called Chaos Reigns or Chaos Must Reign, Daredevil Born Again, like comics. So it could be a nod to that as well. And Vanessa thinks that he is actually punishing her for Adam, and she's like, you're leaving me out in the cold. But they then both get quiet as Heather walks in, and, you know, they're couples counseling, but, you know, before Heather walks in the room, it seemed that they're actually making some progress about what is bothering each other, and they're actually talking to each other. And then as soon as the counselor walks in, they're like, I wasn't talking. You know, like two kids getting in trouble by the principal. We then go back to court and see that Matt questions Hector on the stand, and we hear his side of the story. And Matt pulls out the white tiger mask and reveals that Hector is the white tiger, revealing his secret. And you're like, Matt, why was this a good idea?
Just saying that you've put yourself in harm's way before. Many times. The question is, why?
Because he was in trouble.
You intervened that night because you're a hero.
Matt, don't do this.
Mr. Ayala, yes or no? Are you the vigilante known as the White Tiger?
Objection! Objection, Your Honor!
Yes or no? Mr.
Order!
Ayala.
Order in my court!
What are you doing? You know, like, fucking A, dude. That blew my mind. I was like, what? Like, did you need to do that? Like, what if somebody just revealed you were Daredevil in court? How would you feel? Punk. We then see more of the BB report of a man that says he thinks that Hector won't get a fair trial. So just from this alone, I was like, oh fuck, Hector's screwed. But we then go back to Hector, you know, talking to Matt in his court cell. He says, or jail cell, and he's like, listen, you should have asked me before you did that. It wasn't your secret to tell. And Matt's just like, hey man, I'm just trying to keep you out of prison. And, you know, he's right, but he's also like, he shouldn't have told his secret. But Matt also tells him that he won't be able to be White Tiger again after this. You know that, right? And Hector says it's not that easy. It's who he is, and that he didn't choose it. It chose him. And you might as well be asking him to stop breathing. It's calling to me. And it sounds like old Matt saying this, but new Matt says, you can do good in other places. You don't need the mask. You know, and this is really what he's just telling himself. And Matt also says, you might be surprised how much you don't miss him. And, which is such a bold-faced lie. You see it written all over Matt's face that this is what he keeps telling himself and that Hell's Kitchen doesn't need Daredevil. But, like, he is telling Hector, no more White Tiger. And he's like, you know, he's so depressed just thinking about how bad he does want to be Daredevil. But yet, he can't at the moment, you know. We then see witnesses at court questioned by Matt, and these are all witnesses that White Tiger saved, and about the White Tiger's good that he does. And we see that he didn't just help normal people, but he also helped officers in a bunch of different police reports, and one of the officers is named an Officer Morales.
More police reports. Officer Reyes, Officer Wong, Officer Morales, Officer Grant. All of these tell a different version of the same story.
Now, Officer Morales there, is that teasing a Miles Morales, Officer Davis? You know, he does take the last name Morales sometimes in I believe, the Into the Spider-Verse, he takes Morales instead of Davis. But in like the PS5 video game, or PS4 at that time, the Spider-Man 1, he takes Davis as his last name because that's his regular last name. But either way, is this a Miles Morales tease? They also say names like Reyes, which maybe is a nod to Camar de los Reyes' last name. Or maybe that's D.A. Reyes that was in the Netflix Daredevil show. I don't know. She is dead, but, you know, only Reyes I could think about. They also say Wong, which could be Sorcerer Supreme Wong, or they could just be referring to Wong and other last names like Grant that could be VFX artists or supervisors or producers that work on the show. Could be just little notes like that, but threw in Morales in there, and anyone that knows, like, they know that that's going to perk up some ears, like, oh, Miles? But no, I don't think you should expect to see Miles in this, although it would be sick if somehow, some way this is leading towards a Miles Morales debut in the MCU. Absolutely would blow my mind. But that's not going to happen. We then see that Matt asks Hector why he does what he does, and Hector leans in and says, it's because it's the right thing to do. And after, you know, Matt has his questioning of Hector Ayala, and then he goes and talks to the jury about how he's a hero and that Hell's Kitchen needs people like this. And the DA, the other lawyer, has a hell of a rebuttal, but he just is really mean, and you're like, ooh, I don't like this guy. But that was a hell of a, you know, trying to win the case himself. And then we see that Matt has a quiet moment in the courthouse alone, holding on to the Daredevil horn that Karen gave him. And I loved this shot of just him alone in the courthouse, and then just sits there and he's holding the horn, and you're just like, not only is he longing for Daredevil, he's longing for Karen, he's longing for Foggy, right? And he's alone. He doesn't have the Nelson, Murdock, and Page anymore. Even though now he has Cherry and Kirsten McDuffie, they don't know him as well as they did, you know? Even though Cherry knows about the Daredevil stuff, I don't think Kirsten does, right? We then see that Matt wins his court case, and Hector Ayala is found not guilty on all charges, but Fisk sees Matt Murdock win the case on the news, and this pisses him off, and he asks for a meeting with BB Urich. And Matt, we then see cut over to his house, and he's cooking dinner for Heather, and he talks about Foggy, and they have a drink the same way that they used to celebrate. And she toasts to a man who can cook, a job well done, and to Foggy. And may God hold him in the hollow of his hand. And that is the title of this episode. But I liked how, you know, she's like, you're talking about your friend Foggy, right? And he's like, yeah, it's not easy. But he certainly knew how to enjoy the good moments when they came. And then she toasts, and then that's where we get the title of the episode, May God hold them all in the hollow of his hand. And I really like the two of them together. I really like Heather for Matt. I like that this is his new girlfriend. I like that he's cooking for her. Guys should cook for their girls, you know. Ladies, I'd love to cook you a little something nice, something tasty. Or we can just go get sushi or something. That's cool too. We then cut back to Fisk talking to BB about the White Tiger trial and how he says it's false and this is a mistrial. He should have been found guilty, and that masked vigilantes are all cowards, and that the rule of law must prevail. Staring directly into camera as we cut into black, but as he's saying all of this, we see a suit-up shot of the White Tiger, and we start to see Hector Ayala putting on his suit and go out to the streets to start fighting crime. And you're like, oh my god, the suit looks great. Are we finally about to see the White Tiger in action? No, we're not. Because as he runs out to go protect somebody because somebody made some noise, and he's like, oh god, somebody needs my help. And he runs out, and somebody with a Punisher vest steps out from the shadows and shoots him in the head, and then shoots him one more time on the ground. And that's how we close this episode on the Punisher's logo chest, you know, vest walking into camera. We don't see the face of the shooter, but you know, this is clearly trying to make all of us think this is Frank Castle. But if anyone knows, this isn't Frank Castle's style, right? Like, Frank Castle doesn't just kill vigilantes for no reason, and especially if they don't kill anybody else, right? Like, maybe Frank had a personal connection with the dirty cops, but I doubt that too. This, to me, seems like it's probably going to be a dirty cop that is maybe working with Fisk, because we know back from season 1 of Netflix Daredevil that Fisk had all of the police in his pocket. So if this is like that, and you know, he's clearly back to power and has money, maybe Fisk has all of the Punisher cops with the Punisher tattoos. Maybe they're all in Fisk's pocket and they're all like informants for Fisk type of thing, you know. So maybe Fisk hired that undercover cop to put on a Punisher logo and put down vigilantes, you know. Like, that's pretty crazy. But it's also so sad that we go to the closing shot of this episode and, you know, he gets killed, and we close this episode and we just hear the sounds, no music in as the credits roll for this episode, just the Coqui frog whistling, and you're just like, oh my god. So that's the heartbreak you leave us. And no Karen this episode, and no Frank this episode, but a little Punisher tease at the end there. So maybe if Frank comes back, maybe that means Karen comes back. I mean, I know there's people from the original show that was really shipping Frank and Karen. I mean, I kind of shipped Frank and Karen too, but I really want to see Matt and Karen back together. But now that Matt has Heather, maybe Karen and Frank can get their thing on. I mean, I'm not mad at this, but I do want to see Karen back. I do want to see Frank back. I want to see fucking Foggy back, because those are my 3 people, along with Matt, you know, the 4 of them, that I want to see interacting at all times, you know. And even though the Punisher isn't somebody that's going to be there all the time, he's kind of like somebody that comes and goes, I still want to see when the 4 of them are together, magic. It's magic, baby. But this is the end of this episode, and comment below what you thought of all of this and the craziness of episode 3. Episode 4 will be dropping next week, so stay tuned for that. Hit that bell if you want to catch the notifications when more videos come out. We got some more movie reviews coming out tomorrow, and then some unboxings coming out this weekend. Last weekend, I know there was supposed to be, I normally post every day, and I missed last Saturday, but I was trying to upload the 2-hour hour and 50-minute Daredevil Season 2 breakdown, and it took me legitimately 2 days to upload because it kept fighting me and wouldn't upload, and I was just getting so frustrated that finally Sunday I got it to upload. But for 2 days it was pissing me off. I was trying to get that thing to upload. But hopefully that won't happen again, and I got videos coming every day for this week and for the weekend, so stay tuned for those. Thank you guys so much. If you'd like to follow my other social medias, links down in the description below. And if you've made it this far and you would like to support me and the channel, I would really appreciate it if you would like this video. Commenting down below really helps the videos get out into the algorithm. Share this video with a friend. Hit that bell for the notifications, and subscribing if you're new. We're on the road to 1,000 subscribers to try and get myself to making this channel monetized. That would be really sick. I would love to quit my job and do this full time for you guys. That would be exciting stuff. So help me out. Get me to 1,000 subscribers. I also need watch time, so go watch some videos. I got movie reviews, Comically Boston, longer form stuff, unboxing, Lego stuff. You know, I got fun stuff on the channel. I also have road trips, old car content. So go check those out back from like the pandemic days. Go see what I looked like 4 or 5 years ago. Thank you guys so much for coming on by. I really appreciate anyone that clicks on these videos. You guys mean the world to me. And I will see you beautiful people in the next one. Peace.